Yeah, so, hi, my name is Johnny Lee. I'm the founder of the Orange County Math Circle. I'm a senior at St. Margaret's right now.
I'm Alex Oakwood, and I'm a sophomore at University High School.
I'm Andrew Ma, and I'm a sophomore at University High School as well.
Right. And you can visit our website at ocmathcircle.org. So, some background or history. I actually got my inspiration for starting the Math Circle at a young age. Like, I attended the San Diego Math Circle when I was in like 6th grade, and I was just really like inspired by like all the environment it provided and being around other kids who are also interested in math. And also I just gained a lot of math knowledge. So there's a math circle in San Diego and there's a math circle in Los Angeles, but there isn't a math circle in Orange County, which is about halfway in between. So I kind of wanted to provide the math circle experience to kids between these two places. And in the beginning, I wasn't really sure how to start. I didn't have any resources or anything. So I was looking online and I found this program called the Young Scholars Ambassador Program under the Davidson Institute. So basically, this is a program that where a student can propose a community service project, and they'll review the proposals and they'll select a few of them. And so they selected my proposal for the OCMC. And after a little over a year, I finally got it started. So in the beginning, I think the first session, we only had 20 kids, and it was just like teaching some AMC topics. But after that, it started gaining interest from just by word of mouth, and we soon got like over 40 kids. And so then it was only run by me. I was the only teacher, and then I started expanding, looking for other high school kids to participate as well. And that's where I found Alex, and Andrew later joined as well.
So basically, our first challenge was to find volunteers. Johnny just did it by himself for 1 year, and we didn't, that's not sustainable. And so what we first did is he sent out a call to the ARML team, to extracurricular math programs, trying to see if there are any high school volunteers. The first year we only had about, the first year after Johnny's was, we had about 20 volunteers. Now we have over 50. And it's spreading word of mouth. Most of our volunteers are in high school, 9th, 10th, 11th grade. But we also have some middle school students that are advanced in math. And so most of them are math enthusiasts, and they have to spend a lot of hours, preparing for the tournaments that we hold. And they also have to teach and guide the students in our program. So they also have to have a strong math knowledge and also be able to serve as role models. What we do is, since we host 3 different programs, we have tournaments, the AMC 8 Math Counts Preparation Seminars, and the San Ana Math Club, which reaches out to an area in Orange County, just a specific school district. And we kind of divide the students into areas of interest. A lot of our tournaments focus between grades 3 and 8, and so we need volunteers that can work with older middle school students, and also the ones that can deal with the 3rd and 4th graders. So volunteers help with whatever they want. Most of them help with tournaments, but you can also do AMC 8 Math Counts and the San Ana Math Club. And we hold monthly meetings where we cover specifically information for all the programs. And then at the events, whoever shows up, we fill them in if they haven't been to meetings. So our tournaments were basically how we got all of our participants. We kind of raised awareness about our whole program here. In 2009, 2010, we held 3 tournaments: the Thanksgiving tournament, the New Year's Invitational tournament, and the All-Girls Math tournament. They're in November, January, and April because we want to separate them out a bit. We don't have anything over the summer, which is something we're hoping we can add. At the events, we have some of them are like math count style. There's a sprint round, a target round, and then like some kind of team activity, some kind of game that's just for fun. All of our events are free, and we host bookstores to get money, and also snack bar.
And MSRI for.
Yes, thank you MSR for our fund this year. And before the tournament, we have to set up the online registration, and it runs up until a week before. We divide up the teams also. Basically, our volunteers need to focus in on one specific area. Before the tournament, we need to focus on publicity. The first year that we did this, we would go to old, former schools, talk to the teachers, the principals, all the people that still know us, because we were only there 2 years ago. And so we also have to make the tests. And so the test was kind of the challenging thing our first year. We basically we tried to model it off of tests that actually exist. And we got feedback from the students. A lot of people would get 20s out of 30s. So maybe if that was the average, it's a little easy. So we had to figure out how to do that. And so we developed from past years, so our last year's test, we used those to model off of our new ones. And during the tournaments, we also need people to proctor the exams, people to grade, and the bookstore and snack bar needs to be run. And we also have photographers because we want to expand our publicity to. So yeah, the flyers were delivered to local schools. We brought them to libraries, basically any place where there was tutoring activities going on, events where gifted students would want and get interested in this. We send out monthly newsletters. Basically, for every event, they have to provide an email, and so whoever participates in an event is in our email list. And so now, as we expand more programs, everyone gets the email, so everyone is getting the information again. And the math department heads that we contacted, if they want more information, they can just request it, and we'll add them to the newsletters. And so that just kind of is how we spread the word. The test making and the checking is probably, that's our most difficult task, because there's a lot of small things we have to deal with. We ask volunteers to send in problems of varying difficulty. Since most of our tests don't focus on one grade level, we have a 3 through 8 tournament at the end of the year. We have to send in problems that are suitable for each of the grade levels. We try and make the tests like a composition of probability problems, fraction problems, shape, geometry to be about the same for each of them, but the difficulty obviously is very different. Once we make the test, we ask the volunteers to send in problems. We have a giant problem bank that we just store, and we go through it, mark off the problems we did, and once we have the test compiled, we give it to the graders who also made the test, and they have to make sure that it's a suitable amount of time. If they can do it in 10 minutes, it's okay to expect 30 minutes from the student, but if we take 30 minutes, it's not going to be good enough. And we also create the answer keys that way. Since we have multiple people working on it, that's how we check that all of our problems are fine. At the tournament itself, we need the proctors to supervise the students. They hand out pencils and scratch paper. They monitor the students and they answer questions if there's any problems that arise. And the graders are often the same as the proctors. They kind of shift. They have different shifts. Proctors, when they're done proctoring the exam, they go into the grading room, check the test, score it, and then we also have tiebreakers because always we have some bright minds. So we have to see how many from the back. We normally go from the back, the more challenging problems. And yeah, so we have the bookstores and the snack bar. We sell math books, and we also provide free information about local math programs and just in general education magazines. The snack bar sell baked goods, and we have water available for everyone. And yeah, so Andrew is our director of communications, and he takes photographs and he writes up stories about all of our events, and it's part of our publicity because we want to get the word out. We ask students for quotes. We want them to support the program too. We don't want to just be the parents forcing. We want the kids to actually enjoy themselves. So if they're not, we want that feedback. And so.
Alright, another section of the Orange County Master Vote are MC8 and math class classes. So for the MC8 class, it's basically a 2.5-hour session. We start out with a mock MC exam, and we let the students correct it themselves, and we split them based on score. So that really helps. It makes things more efficient if we have separate groups that way. We review the problems, and we've covered topics such as number theory, counting techniques, and probability topics. The Math Cons class is structured in a similar way. The cool thing about it though is that it's taught by past Math Cons champions, so in our region. So it can be either written exam champions so have I. So it's similar format, but we also work on worksheets also. Right, so like I was saying before, the coaches are past math counts champions, and it's particularly useful because we're able to provide kind of like our past experiences, maybe some tricks that they should know that appear year after year. So we're really familiar with the exam.
Yeah, and especially with the AMCA and the math counts, they're now like national tests, and they kind of have, they're not. It's a lot of speed involved. There's a lot of competition. It's not just math thinking and problem solving. It's a lot of I mean, there are problems like that, but it's applying it quickly. So that's one of our just test preparing groups. But another program we have is the Santa Ana Math Club. Basically what happened was it started this school year. We used the funding that we got from MSRI for this. And the OC, we went to the Santa Ana Math Field Day. It's an annual event that Santa Ana holds. It's kind of, they're different topics. So like they'll have a number theory room, a probability room, and the students, like the teams of students go around and compete in each of them. And the schools compete like that. The only reason there's even a Santa Ana Math Field Day is that there was no success from the Santa Ana schools at the Orange County Math Field Day. They've been falling behind in their programs. There's very few math teams. I mean, they have a lot of math teams, but not a lot of teacher support for the program. So we met with a lot of teachers and we discussed the possibility of us coaching their teams. And so we cover the topics that they hold at the Orange County Math Field Day. And so fractions, probability, geometry, mental math, and basic algebra. And this is competition specific events, but we also throw in math games, just enrichment things. And generally this competition is a lot, you have a lot of time, you have maybe 10 questions in 30 minutes, so it's a lot of thinking, a lot of working through, so it's a great chance for them to explore math, even at the competition. And so we met with one of the schools. There's I think about 5 intermediate schools, so middle schools, and all of the schools that feed into that middle school were invited to participate also, so there's 6 elementary schools that also come. We service through 4th to 7th grade, and we've divided the grades into 4th grade, 5th grade, and then 6th and 7th have been grouped because they are at a similar level. And right now we have over 80 students, and at each of our events we have at least 70 participants. And the way we selected the students was we told the school, we can provide for 10 students from your grade, how can you send that many? And they would send maybe 5 or 6. But so they would use their own criteria like class participation, scores, just in general to see who the top students would be for this event. And also they were normally the ones who are already in the math clubs at the schools. And so before each meeting at our monthly meetings, we have to plan what the curriculum will be. We need to figure out, what topics we want to discuss, how we want to discuss them. And the day of, we need at least 5 to 8 volunteers. We try and provide a variety of levels on our tests. So, we start off with the math field day problems, the basics of what they need, and then we go into, complex like research questions, like how, patterns, trying figuring it out. And we go into more difficult math counts AMC8 to challenge the quicker students. And the Santa Ana Unified School District has provided us the campus to work with, and so they oversee the program and they monitor the students, but we teach the classes, grade the papers, and make the math games and everything that they're gonna do at the events. This program needs a dedicated group of volunteers because we get feedback, we get feedback from them, we need to interact with them very well, so we need the same students to be there. So we have about, I think we have 10 volunteers that have showed up throughout the whole year, and and at each of them there's at least 5 the same volunteers, so that's always good. And whenever we run this, we have the same worksheets for all of the classes, but the first, let's say we have like 5 worksheets, the first 2 are intended to be the core of the 4th and 5th grade program, and just the warm-up for the 6th and 7th grade program. So we want to, make sure that the students who don't know that, they can, catch up with it. And so they all focus on the same topic, and the speed that we teach it depends on what the grade level is. So our worksheets are, the first set is the lecture. So we'll be giving a lecture, we'll give examples, we have students participate, trying to figure out the problems, and then we give a second set where it's individual work. And through that, they try and, we give them about like 20, 30 minutes to work on the individual problems, see if they can get them. And if they're not finished, they can go to become homework. But depending on how many are not finished, all the students are having trouble. We either have them go into groups and work by themselves, or they come up and they ask us questions. And once they solve the problems, they come up and present the solutions on the board, because we want them to see what they thought to do and how we thought to do it. And so sometimes, instead of even giving a lecture to start with, we just give a problem and say, how would you do this? And see if they can even get close to what we were thinking. And so yeah, we teach the 4th and 5th separately, because the 4th and 5th graders, there's a big gap between the fractions and the decimal work that they've done, and how much practice they've had with division. So we didn't want to, we originally grouped them, and then there was a big gap between what they knew, and it wasn't suitable. And so the class is from 9 to 11:30, and the general schedule, the first hour, we focus on the lesson itself, like what topic we discussed was, and we allow the students to check their answers. We put the answers on the board, and they go through and they mark what they missed. Then we ask them, did anyone get the commonly missed problems, and then they present them on the board if that works. If we don't like the way their solution was, if it wasn't actually correct, it was just lucky, we step in and say what we would have done. And then we have a break where we give them snacks and water, and the next 30 minutes to the whole hour will be on going over the missed problems. And so the last hour, half hour, depending on how much time we end up having, is dedicated to a math game or mental math tricks. So we play 24. You try and use the basic operations to make the number 24 using 4 cards. And we always use it as a warm-up for the class, sometimes at the beginning of the class. And then we allow them to compete in groups, and we're going to hold a tournament at the end of the year just for fun. Okay, this kind of stuff. But the mental math tricks are also taught. Didn't work out. But for instance, like times 25, we want to show them that you can multiply times 5 or times 5, twice, or you can multiply by 100 divided by 4. We've given them problems, different multiplication tricks to see if they can solve, like how to do it. Times 4 is just doubling it twice. Doubling is easy to do, but multiplying by 4 isn't. So, if we just show them, doing it twice, it's an easier, faster way. So we try and ask them to develop these things, and we also give them examples of how we would do them. And so far, it's been pretty successful. She's in charge of the whole program, and she says that the students are enthusiastic and they admire us a lot, and they always say that they have a lot of fun. And that's really what matters, is they actually enjoy the class, the students. It's not just the teacher saying, good job, but the teachers are seeing a difference, and the students are actually enjoying themselves because they're coming, in the morning on a Saturday, and they're actually having fun.
All right. So, as director of communications, I mostly specialize in promotion and publicity, and it hasn't been mentioned very often at this place. At this conference, actually, we usually just mention, teaching philosophies and what a math circle is all about. But what's vital for the survival of a math circle and its continuance is promotion and publicity. Definitely. Well, it's not like promotion, actively promoting to children. It's like an advertising company, because that would just be corrupt, and we're a non-profit organization. But one of my biggest pet peeves is when you don't know you love something, but because you haven't had the opportunity to try it. Maybe you would have been a great mathematician, but you didn't have the opportunity to do so. And that's what most math circles' goals are, to provide that opportunity and explore it so that you start to love math and you take an occupation in math later. So, basic publicity includes flyers, like paper flyers. We distribute them at local libraries, other math events, and email. And we place them in areas of higher probability of our targeted age group. 9 through 14, so we would place them in school libraries, or we would have teachers at school distribute them. An active promotion, yeah.
Another thing that he mentioned right now was that we want to extend the opportunity to people who haven't had any math interaction. So on our tournaments, we don't make the problems, completely impossible to solve. We try and incorporate, 15 problems that everyone will be able to solve and get interested in and try at least, make progress. So we don't want to discourage the students, so we try and make the beginning of each test, good enough so that they'll have fun with it. Everyone can participate in it, and then, the last 10 is if the people want the awards and they want to compete. That's how they get distinguished. So what he was saying was we really do want everyone to try it out, because I think a lot of people just don't have the opportunity to see the math. Because that happened with me. I didn't see math until my first competition. If it was too hard, I would have just stopped.
Yeah, definitely. And something I find active promotion practically almost human interface. will actually human interface much more effective than just paper flyers. Because you see the paper and you're just like, okay, toss it in the trash or toss it in the recycling bin if you're responsible. But active promotion, I see like sending students or actually calling the school or talking to the principal or talking to the teacher. I find that so much more effective because actually the more you reduce the discrepancy between the person who sends the message and the person who receives the message, the lesser the gap is. Paper extremely lengthens that gap. That paper could get to 7 people before it finally gets to a student. If it's one-on-one, student with teacher or volunteer with teacher, there's a higher probability that that message will actually get to the student. And we use direct form of communication. We also send advocates, kind of like agents. We designate a volunteer to several schools, and this volunteer will try to contact the school via email, phone calls, and even visit the campus just to kind of increase that human interface between just a volunteer and the teacher who's targeted. And we also have newsletters. One thing about communication that's also very important is that you don't want to have spontaneous, sporadic kind of like hit you with it. Like, I don't want to be, oh, there's a tournament coming up in 2 weeks and I'm expecting you to come. You have to have some sort of constant communication so that the people don't fall out of the loop. And that's how we do this is by sending out monthly newsletters to notify people of upcoming events and updates so that we maintain such a close connection between our organization and the students that our organization serves. And so after, as said earlier, after each student attends a tournament, we put their emails in constant contact, and we send out reminders to sign up for events or for local competitions, not necessarily even associated with our organization, but associated with mathematics, because that's what math circles are all about in the end anyways. And fundraising. It's so easy. Well, actually, it was quite, I wouldn't say easy, but once we get a grant from MSRI, we still have to constantly support ourselves with fundraising. And I find fundraising it's actually hard and difficult at the same time. Hard and easy at the same time. It's easy in the sense that you can get people to fundraise because you're fighting for a good cause, but it's also hard in the sense that you're getting people to donate. And in a time where all of us can agree we're not in the greatest economic shape, fundraising is not quite very easy at this particular time. And one way we do it is by sponsorship and a spreadsheet, and how we do this is by spreadsheet marketing. So we create a spreadsheet and we kind of have the business name, and then we have the names of specific businesses, and we strategically target the businesses that we know have supported kind of mathematical and science goals in the first place. So, and then we list the president, CEO, or the communications director, and then we have a contact representative, and then we list their address. And so by sending ourselves to that company and then introducing ourselves, I guess it'll be much easier than sending a letter, because a letter is just kind of fake, right? The person on a letter, although it might be fancy and everything, it might have a good letterhead logo or whatever, a person you can't explain your message by a letter. I just find interviews with a president or a PR director so much more effective. And we follow up always with a thank you letter because that's just polite. And during our events, we also have fundraising. As before mentioned, we have snack bars, a bookstore, and a bake sale. Just little things for the kids to eat and for us also to fund our events. And we have follow-ups or gratuity fundraising, as I call it, which is after tournaments and seminars. So we would provide what our service is, not expecting, we actually absolutely don't expect them to give us money back, but we're just asking them, like, it's a follow-up letter asking parents and teachers for donations to, we've demonstrated our mission, now could you help us continue it? And I find that effective and also very good for the students who we're pitching to. And online donation is a system that I want to implement because it's so convenient, and in the 21st century, we've gotten we have so much technology, and donations through online donation, through an online donation system will be implemented on the site. We're looking forward to doing a lot of new things because Johnny, who's a senior, he's going to be graduating this year, so he'll be going off to college. And it'll just be me, Alex and I. And so this conference has provided us with a bunch of information, and we're just trying to get ideas together to see what we can do for next year and further carry the organization?
Right. So in the future, we have some other things we want to implement, like making the Santa Ana Math Club meetings more frequent. This year, we had maybe like once every month, but because it's such a big success, we wanted to make it like maybe 2 times a month or even more. So also expand that because we're slowly getting more volunteers, so we can also accommodate more students as well. Right, we're getting more volunteers, and also we want to expand our competitions to include more students. Right now, a lot of our participants come from like a specific like demographic in Orange County, so we want to kind of expand that to other areas as well. And also adopt other schools to host programs instead of renting spaces. Right now, when we host our classes, we have to rent a room, and that's where a lot of our money goes. So it'd be nice to get some free facilities. And lastly, start a program where we can send OCMC volunteers to begin coaching for the math field day and math counts teams at local schools. So maybe like if a school or like a school's math club needs help coaching, we could send volunteers to those schools.
And also, like this, I started a math counts team at my old school. They didn't have a program when I was there, even though I tried. And then now that I'm in high school, I went back and I said, you know, there's a lot of people that want a math counts team. Could you start one? And so I coached one this year, and so I wanted to test that out to see if that would work. And what I was thinking is next year, if we can get our volunteers to start math counts teams at the other middle schools, because I think there's only 2 out of like the 8 in Irvine that actually have teams, or maybe 3. And so we definitely want more volunteers to do that. And so it would be great if, as an organization, we could create a program. You know, let's like each week we would focus on different concepts, and so we just send out our volunteers to different schools, and they spread that everywhere.
So one concluding quote from Mrs. Walker: "The student members are learning from their mentors and role models, and will be ready to lead within a year or 2. Orange County Math Circle appears to be self-sustaining. I expect great things from them over the next few years." Right, so it's great to have some of this positive feedback. Thanks for listening. Thanks
For inviting us.
yeah, inviting us here. Also, I wrote an article for the Madden magazine from Johns Hopkins, so if any of you want to pick up a copy, you're free to do so. Yeah, or we can
Help him out.
Absolutely.
we can take questions.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I'm glad someone's running an organized math circle around here.
That is so cool.
Since you said you like positive feedback, I have a whole lot more for you. I'm really impressed. It's really well
Which college?
You took on a few different kids, not too many, but a few of them, and are doing a great job of making it self-sustaining. I have a couple of questions about the publicity stuff. First of all, are you a nonprofit, or are you under the auspices of another nonprofit? Or, and was that expensive for you to do, or was that?
We've already got that. Do you have one?
So just set up or I just set up a link account with Wells Fargo.
I mean, can you take tax-deductible contributions? Because they're nonprofits and
Yeah, tax deduction.
so you filed all the forms with the IRS yourself?
No, my mom helped do that. So.
Okay,
That's cool.
That's fair. And the other thing is, I don't know, I'm in a county not all that far from Santa Barbara County, and it's not not allowed for public schools to pass out flyers? Do you have that in your county?
In our county, whenever I go, they have to be approved by the district, and so I send a PDF to the district, and then they say this is okay to distribute, and then I can bring it to any school in the district.
Okay, yeah, in ours, no outside agencies
yeah.
allowed to do it.
They let us because at first
Yeah.
a lot of schools actually allow it. Some private schools do, but the public schools you have to get everything approved.
It's a group, I think.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't, I don't know, ever since the Boy Scout homosexuality issue, they allow nobody to pass out
Yeah.
anything. So I thought that might be statewide, but I
Yeah,
guess
no,
it's
no.
not.
Yeah, we're
Good,
lucky with
good,
that, yeah.
that's good. So that's one of your more effective ways of.
Yeah,
recruiting
because
people,
I mean,
right?
all of us went. We
You
all
go to
went
your
to
own
school,
schools
and
first,
yeah,
but then, yeah.
and then we spread to the
Then you
area.
get a couple
Most of us,
of people.
we all know the math department heads at our old schools, and so they know what students were like us, when we were there. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question for Andrew.
Okay.
What social media do you use?
Oh, social media. Actually, we haven't used much social media because our target group is like middle school students. And although, like technology is reaching elementary and middle school students, I think my brother even signed up for Facebook and he was in 7th grade when he signed up. But actually, I don't find social media for like that kind of 7th, 8th, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. I don't find it as effective.
We actually have a Facebook page, but it's just like not very.
Right.
So
We
you
haven't
know,
a lot of time.
so you are specifically targeting children directly and not going through parents or teachers. Is it what you're saying?
Right. Sometimes we talk to the students who come to local academy classes which specialize in teaching about math, counts, or AMC, or extracurricular mathematics. And sometimes we also talk to the parents and teachers because it's also very useful for the parents and teachers to know about this stuff.
I mean, what you just said is you're not using social media because you're talking to
Right,
students
mainly,
directly.
right.
And they're younger than the Facebook age.
Well, I have a question. You said that you make your spreadsheet and you said that you interview people because personal contact is the best way. But when you put Raytheon down and the CEO of Raytheon, how do you get to interview him? You just knock on his door or do you have to send a letter? It sounds like a chicken or the egg problem. You send a letter
Right.
going off or
Well, we haven't talked to him yet, but actually, the people on that list, I actually know some of them through friends or so that's a big help. Some of them go to my school, so.
Yeah, connections are really useful. And Johnny and I we do competitive math, and we're kind of well known in our local competitive math. So a lot of organizations see that we're trying to provide this our mathematics background for other children, and that's kind of like a straight shot to them.
Yeah, and a lot of those companies also sponsor science competitions, and I've been doing science competitions for 6 years, and so a lot of them are sponsors for most of the events, and they give out awards, grants to students. So a lot of them we come in contact with just from participating in these events.
Logistics, so you're in high school. You do this after school, on the weekends?
Most of it's on Saturdays and Sundays.
How do the kids get there?
Parents.
And where do you find space?
For space, we usually just rent out a room. Sometimes schools will let us use their facilities, and that's all to help.
But you pay good money for the space.
We have we came up with a deal with the university, so we kind of have a lower rate, I guess. But for the Santa Ana math club, that's hosted out of school, so that's
just
free.
ask the professor.
So our all-girls tournaments also hosted by a school, same as.
So when you do math counts, the team does not have to represent a particular school? They represent the Saturday club?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You can send individuals, and that's what we
Yeah.
want. I mean, the more students that we can get to the competition, the better.
Yeah, and our scrimmages are kind of, it'd be nice if they could send a team, to actually have an opportunity to test it out, but a lot of people come in as individuals and just meet with other people just to have fun.
All right. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks.